happenings, especially the medal table, how it ended, the teams at the top. Also, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will be hoping to, appoint to get a new coach this week, according to the NFF. And of course, we'll see the cutting race that we saw on Saturday and how far the preparations for the new season will be as we count down to the start of the English Premier League this weekend. Details of this and many more will form the bulk of the conversation here on Sports Extraordinary this evening. Ekpo Temple is my name. Let's go on a short break. When we come back, we have more to converse here. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, it's Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television Network. Emmanuel Michael is in the studio. Mike, it's a lovely evening and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening to you, Temple, and good evening to our viewers out there.
All right, quickly, we'll start with all that transpired at the just concluded Summer Olympic Games. It is the 33rd edition that came to an end yesterday after 16 days. And of course, we'll start from our Team Nigeria, and their exploits at the Olympics. Mike, 88 athletes, 16 days of showcase, and of course, we saw that played out. I mean, it looks as though the opening ceremony, there was this enthusiasm. When you look at Toby Emotion, and you look at Anu or Peyori holding that flag of Nigeria in that boat when the parade was ongoing, you will just think that we'll go all out to change the narrative. They were given a target of 12 medals in 12 sports, spent 12 billion. You know, one would have expected that in return, we'll be talking something else. But looks like we're unable to hold a single medal at the Olympics, making it the 8th time we have gone to the Olympics without having a medal to show for it. And your general assessment of Team Nigeria, and of course, the impact of not having to win a single medal at the Olympics.
What are we even assessing about Team Nigeria? Is it the fact that we won medals that we are assessing, or is it the fact that we didn't win any medal? Nothing to assess about Team Nigeria, other than we went out there with 88 athletes, not being able to win even one silverware out of the 12 sport discipline, you know, that we went there to take part in. And the projection or target was about 12 silverware, but then it simply means maybe at least one medal in each of the 12 sporting disciplines. But then it wasn't to be, as our expectation fell short of so many people's opinion and projection out there before the Paris Olympic Games. So nothing to assess about Team Nigeria other than we had a disastrous outing, one to forget, you know, about, because it's not good. This is our 19th appearance in any Olympic event, and out of 19, we've not won medals out of 8. So it's not surprising. But then, one thing surprising is about the fact that since 1952, when we first made our debut appearance at the Olympic Games, we failed to win a medal. And this is 2024. Yet, the same feat happens again, that we went to the Olympic Games parading 88 athletes, not being able to win a single medal. So that is what is very shocking to me, that at this jet age, at this Gen Z era, we have not improved, you know, from the antiquated regime of 1952.
But I think recently, 2012, we also did not win a medal.
Yep.
So one would have also expected that, okay, more like even in contemporary time, we are still used to not winning medals. But I mean, if you talk about the fact that yes, Nigeria may not be the only country who have not won medals, okay, but it looks like with the effort and the budgetary allocations in the sports industry, especially Nigeria, one ordinarily should think that we should be able to get medals. Could that be the reason why a lot of Nigerians are disappointed?
Well, not the fact that we spend so much money this year's Paris Olympic Games without winning medals. That shouldn't be the disappointment, because the other edition in 2012, where we did not win any medal, didn't we spend money? Well, of course, we did spend money. So I think the bulk of the problem lies on our administrators, their inability to do the right thing at the right point in time. You can't be preparing for an Olympic game and you fold down your hands under your arms just within 6 to 4 months before the Mundial kicks off, and that is where you start preparing. And you want to take such a fire brigade approach to go and compete with countries that have been preparing for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years before these Olympic Games. And you want to take fire brigade approach to match up their fire powers and the planning, you know, they've had over the past couple of 4 years or 5 years down the line preparing for this big occasion. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. So it's about our administrators not living up to the task. It's about, you know, people who are manning position of different sporting or you know, strata to do the needful. It's about the Ministry of Sport itself not having an adequate preparation, maybe more like a 3-4 years planning, long-term planning for such a big occasion before jetting out for the Olympic Games. So it's not about the money spent on the preparation, but about how well we prepared ahead of this Mondial, ahead of this year's Paris Olympic Game. When did we actually start the preparation? Are we able to dot the I's and cross the T's? You know, these are so many questions, you know, that need to be asked. And the money that have been channeled into different sporting federations over the years for sport development, how far has such money been spent? What are the evidence to clearly state that yes, this money has been adequately spent for the purpose to which it is meant for? So these are some of the questions and you know, the burden of worries that we should be talking about here.
Now a lot of persons are they're analyzing the failure of Nigeria to win a medal in the context of Egypt who did not win a gold, Tunisia did not win a gold, Zambia won bronze medal, and St. Lucia, the smallest island in the Olympics, won a medal. Botswana, courtesy of let's say Tobago, won a medal. You look at even the refugee teams, for the first time in their history, they won a medal. So you ask yourself, you know, with all these instances, at least, and these countries, I mean, these things are those days, I'm not sure that contingents are bigger, maybe for Egypt, they are bigger or larger than that of Nigeria 88. So you ask yourself, you know, what could be the fundamental reason that in all the sporting units, 12 sporting units, that we could not win a medal, and then the support of Mr. President himself, to who has also given support. So all this could have culminated to why Nigerians are not really happy, and it calls for concern, you know, because when you are giving that to someone, when some persons have you know, labeled it as the feast of vultures, where a lot of money was dispensed, the president supported, and yet nothing to write home about. A small country that is not as big as a small island, you know, winning a medal, that tells that something fundamental is happening. A lot of people begin to look at the athletes. So we start with wrestling. Igali was very optimistic that his team would change the narrative. So the big question is, what happened to the wrestlers?
What happened to the wrestlers was that they were not good enough to compete against their counterpart, and that is simple as that.
But they have been training.
They have been training.
You said some time ago when we had show here that if there's a team that looks like they're going to get something from that, this was a wrestling team.
Yes, of course, and of course they did their best, but their best weren't good enough. You know, that is just the simple truth. If you talk about the preparation for the wrestling team, they did pretty well because we have a man who truly understands the workings, you know, of how these things are being run. Talking about Daniel Igali, he was one man who have been there. He's won the shoe, competed at the highest level, you know, retiring to take up administrative, you know, angle of the sport. Did pretty well to ensure that at least these wrestlers were well prepared and equipped for this year's Paris Olympic game. But then it wasn't just to be, as their effort fell short of you know, what is expected, so that they could have been able to, you know, get us 1 or 2 medals out there. That is just a simple truth. But then, if one unit of the sport, which we took there out of 12, fails us, does it mean that the rest 11 cannot also mount a serious challenge? This is the big question we keep asking. It's not about pointing to one particular sport and say, yes, okay, they're prepared. Well, after preparing, what did they achieve? So, for me, it's about the collective interest of Nigeria. It's about the collective participation of Nigeria. We can't just single out one particular sport and say, yes, they did this, they did do that, you know, they prepared very well. What happened? They did not achieve any result. Don't you know that I mean, the good start or a brilliant start of a particular sport at the Olympic game could go a whole long way to enhance or boost the confidence of the entire Nigerian contingent. If, for example, we started with table tennis and Haruna Quadri and Funke Oshonaike and the rest of the table tennis player started off in a very fine fashion, maybe winning 2 or 3 medals, and that could have been another boost, a big boost for the rest of the sporting strata that went there for the Paris Olympic game to also up their ante by saying, okay, the tennis, I think they've done something proud. They almost lie on us right now to also carry the burden along, but all of them failed. So you can't just single out one particular sport and say, yes, of course they prepare. Why didn't they win medals? No, it doesn't work out that way, and that is why it is called Team Nigeria contingent. And
of course, you talk about the preparation. I mean, let's look at for everything that we saw, every person attributed the failure to administration. Do you agree?
Absolutely. There's no way you can, take off the administrative lapses that we've had here in the country, away from the lack of proper development of sports out here. Because if you have the right people mining the right position, people who truly know what to do, people that have passion and interest for the development of the sport itself, and not about the development of their individual pockets and bank accounts. I tell you, at least 4 years down the line, there's no how we take about 88 athletes rather down to the Olympic game without winning a single medal, if our administrators in different sporting units are doing things that they were supposed to do right. You can't tell me that we'll go out there without coming back home. Of course, you saw some of the lapses that Ofevo Ofili wasn't even registered in the 100-meter. Then the Nigerian that represented United States of America in the hammer throw won a bronze for herself. And this is an athlete that was supposed to represent Nigeria, but because of her nonchalant attitude, she switched allegiance to the United States. To mention but some of the few other athletes that won different sports. Even a German, there's a Nigerian German as well who opted to represent German that also won a medal. So with all these administrative lapses, how do you expect us to be competing favorably well against other countries? So if, for example, the likes of South Africa, Zambia, and the rest of them did go out there and win a medal for themselves, and we begin to ask so many questions, does it mean that Nigeria cannot win a medal? How can we be comparing ourselves with countries like Zambia or even the refugee camp that are bereaved of funds?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, it's a problem of maladministration.
And of course, a lot of persons have also said, I mean, I'm just reading an article before me now, and I mean, the guy was very, very detailed in terms of analyzing where possible challenge could have, hampered the team. The team got I mean, they had a lot of issues. A lot of issues that we don't get to know had already been there. And that's why when I say, could it be administration, it looks like the administrative, the behind-the-scene troubles, culminated to where we are. In fact, we even learned that some of the administrators were not in good terms because of the chunk that is involved. I don't want to go all that, but it looks like the greed for who should own the disbursement of funds, who should have a bigger say, also could have hampered, some federations are no longer in good terms. In fact, there was a clear-cut issue between the sports ministry and then the NOC. So you think that there should be an overhaul, like the minister said, an overhaul of the athletics federation, because all the federations are under the NOC and they not under the ministry. The ministry is the supervisory body, but if they get anything at the level of the Olympic, they get through the NOC. So do you agree with the minister that an overhaul, I mean, a review of the constitution of the federations, because some of them are not bureaucrats who do not even understand what is happening. Some of them don't even know how far. They just, okay, we have a team. They just want to have a team. And like the minister said rightly, could it be that we are focusing more on qualifying, showcasing who have more contingent than massive preparation for the Olympics?
For me, I think it's both. The situation is very complicated. You talk about the in-house rancor within the NOC or even the Ministry of Sport. We saw what nearly resulted to international, embarrassment. That we went there, we were fighting among ourselves on who should provide the kits.
That's the first challenge that we saw.
That is the first challenge. It means there was no synergy.
Harmony.
There was no synergy. There was no harmony. If there were any harmony, then there is no synchronization of ideas about these two ministries. Then again, before you could say Jack, a boxer was disqualified because her test sample shows positive.
But that was the same. That brings the question of these are the same samples that you should have done as a federation before boxer. The boxer had qualifications, so you ask. I mean, I know you really lamented that if the federation was in for business, you fight for your boxer, you show working. But it looks like they've been faltered. The doping tests were not carried out, and so they don't even know what to say. To the extent that the organizers of the Olympic Village had to write to Nigeria to forcefully ask her to leave the camp. That was a global embarrassment, So a lot that went on.
It was a big embarrassment, right from the administrative squabble that they were fighting back and forth on who should provide a kit for the team Nigeria, than to when they failed to carry out a proper test for our athletes, and that is why she went there, disqualified for doping issue. But then she insisted that she's competing on a clean slate. And asked that the test should be done again because there's confusion, there's mistakes, somewhere. But then the Boxing Federation of Nigeria, they did not come to her aid. Up till today, we are still talking about. And the International Olympic Committee had to ask Nigerian team to evict any of their athletes that is not supposed to be there. That is why I expected the Boxing Federation of Nigeria to put up a fight, to defend their own. But then the matter died down. We never get to hear anything about it. Till today we are talking about. But don't forget, other countries that know what administrative, cohesion is all about, they don't wait more than 24 hours, at most 48 hours before releasing a statement regarding any of their team or any of their athletes that is being maltreated in a way that it shouldn't be. We saw what happened to the Canada female football team. When they drove a drone close to spy their opponent camp. That is how they were, given some punishment, saying that 6 points would be deducted. But then, less than 24 hours, the Canadian authority, Football Federation, came up very strong to file a case against, FIFA, saying, no, you can't do this. If there's anybody to fine, it's about the coach and the officials and not the players because they are innocent. So even though their fight couldn't go through, but then they were able to make a statement. They were able to push to say, yes, even the footballers, their footballer will be, holding their head very high that at least our federation fought for us gallantly. But then what happens to Nigeria? Nothing. So it's a big issue. And the time may not even permit us to exhaust some of these critical, issues that we are facing right here in the country. But then, as the days progress, we'll continue to profile solutions because we don't just talk about the problem, letting it die down. We must as well also profile solutions to some of these key problems that we are facing. If we must address the issue of bad administration.
So let's look at the top tier of this administration. So we have in the sports fraternity in Nigeria, we have the minister, who is the overall head of everything sports. We have the NOC, whose charge and duty is to, to stand in for Nigeria at the global level. We have the sports minister, Senator John Owan Eno. We have Habugume, the NOC, and then we have other federating units. So let's do a critical analysis. Whose ineptitude, could have caused this, and who should take much of the blames here?
Well, you see, the Nigerian Olympic Committee, NOC, they report direct to the IOC, which is the International Olympic Committee. The Ministry of Sports or the Minister of Sport itself has no rights or whatsoever to go report direct to the IOC.
That's correct.
It doesn't happen. So, if there is anybody to be blamed, it is the NOC, Nigerian Olympic Committee. Not even AFN, Nigerian Athletic Federation. Nigerian Athletic, because we must be able to dissect this issue in a proper perspective, so that many people who don't get to understand will understand the workings, of these ministries and their different, bodies.
Channels of operation also.
The AFN is Nigerian Athletic Federation. Their responsibility is to ensure that when our athletes want to go for any major tournament, they organize what they call the national, trials. Under that national trials, they will supervise everything to ensure that the right people are, who get through is qualified. And that is how they dot their names. After dotting the names, they pass it down to the NOC, Nigerian Olympic Committee. These are people that qualify from the national trials that we've conducted. These are their statistics. You hand it down to the NOC. Then NOC will take their own perusal check on it and see if did they actually meet up with the requirement of IOC. Because the NOC is serving like the eyes of Nigeria. That's because they are looking at the template being set by the IOC. Now, if the AFN now passes the record or the list to Nigerian Olympic Committee, their own duty now is for the NOC to transmit that list direct to the IOC. So if there is anybody to be blamed here, it is the NOC. That is their responsibility. So we shouldn't even go far, begin to bandit between AFN, NOC, and Ministry of Sport and Sport Minister who should be held responsible.
Okay, so why I ask that question is to know where the challenge of the Ophili, because which is one of the discouraging factors that happened early in the camp. After 4 of our federations were ousted out. The table tennis was ousted out, badminton was ousted out, boxing was ousted out, and one other sport was ousted out before that particular incident. So you ask yourself, at what point was Ophili's name jettisoned, removed from the list submitted? From the channel of operation, you said LFN submitted the list of those who have participated and qualified. So, at what point was that name omitted, and what caused that crisis that we saw?
And that is why I say that at one point it was omitted. Is not consequential here. What is consequential is the bulk of the table where the responsibility should be channeled onto, which is the NOC. Nobody cares how the name did not get there. But what we are interested to know is who were supposed to be responsible of transmitting this name to the IOC. And it is the NOC. So we are now trying to, beam our touch to any
because I was thinking that if the AFN are sure, like, I mean, this matter we talked about it, but at this point now, because we're going to come back home, and we don't need to sweep those things under the carpet. That's the problem we've had. When we do this thing, we try to do initial gragra, and after it goes on, I mean, we saw how we lost in the finals of the African population, and you saw the reaction from the NFF, and that is how it should be. So I think that somebody must be answerable to who got the information from in fact, the research I'm even reading, that somebody tampered with the list. And the tampering is not going down well with the sports ministry, neither is it going down well with the AFN. But that is by the way. Another issue to be looked into is Habu Gume. When Habu Gume decided to run for the 4th time, was it 4th or 3rd? A lot of person felt that Habu Gume is old already. At the end of the closing ceremony, Thomas Bach came out to express, which of course we're going to talk about soon, that he's no longer interested in running for a 3rd time. So next year, he's going to hand over and the new person will take over. Habu Gume, when he took over the last time, a lot of person felt that he's too old, that he shouldn't, we need vibrant hands. Does that in any way play a role in what we are saying?
Of course, there are some certain age when you get to in your life where your intelligent quotient will start depreciating naturally as human. As you grow old, you get to a point where you begin to, have more like what they call amnesia, partial loss of memory. So it is not advisable at that point for you to man a position of authority, because there are so many developing things that is, taking on, that is happening in the new world, that you will be backward. You're trying to play the catch-up, and how do you play the catch-up is by reading, study, and steady research. And if your intelligent quotient cannot carry you long enough to stay with research and do the proper thing, then you look as though you'll be living at the Stone Age and thinking backward instead of forward. So it is very clear that in a senile climb, when you think that you've done your part, you leave the stage so that others come and take in and continue from the legacy that you've laid. But here we reason differently. All our aims and focus is to stay put in that office. The sit-tight syndrome of Africa. It happens with whether you talk about political angle, you talk about socio-economical angle, even religious as well. You want to sit put. You want to stay there, whether you are doing very well or not. They voted for him. Don't you expect them to vote him for? Because these are the same cronies that is revolving around the circle within the corridors of power. Go through the history.
We spoke with Adetula Femi some time ago here, the former NOC PRO, who said that he lost his election. So except you lose on the ground of election, you want to be there even if it's 10 years. And that's not helping us. So the minister may be right to say we need to revisit. Because it's the constitution that gives them that leverage and the right to always have their way. So somehow, like those of us in SWAN, sports writers, that's the way the constitution is made of. If you're not careful to prepare for election, you cannot wake up one morning to say you want to be an elective office holder or an office holder in SWAN. So I mean, maybe the constitution they are rigid, and the minister is thinking that first thing to do first is to revisit all the constitutions.
Well, that may be the first key point to start with, because that is a basis of all this, maladministration. If we go through the extant laws that governs some of these different sporting strata and discover that some of the, laws have become obsolete with the, demandings of the moment, then there is need for us to repeal some areas of the constitution and put up more vibrant constitution that can also tackle the challenge of the present time that we find ourselves.
Mike, I'm sure if you're just joining us, we are still reviewing Team Nigeria participation. Mike, I'm sure you heard about the cycling challenge and embarrassment of borrowing a bicycle from a German. And you ask yourself, you are borrowing the same competition, you're going to compete with them. How can you win in such a... And this is the first time that cycling will be making her debut at the Paris Olympic Games. But I'm sure you never heard that the T Tigers were not allowed, to be part of the opening ceremony in the boat of Team Nigeria.
No, I never. And it's part of the administrative lapses that we are talking about. You talked about the cycling, how disgraceful, embarrassing, and a shame, not just a shame, but a sham, a slap on our face that when prepared for such a big event. Now, the report is that we had one cyclist that qualified for the championship. But then, yes, Okpeserea. But then, at the nick of time, the Cycling Federation discovered that a country that was supposed to take part, one of the countries was disqualified, and Nigeria became the second person online, more like what happened in the 4x100 meter relay, where we could not, where we crossed the line wrongfully and were disqualified. And that is how South Africa took our position. After we finished second, South Africa finished third, but because of infringement on the track rules, we were disqualified. South Africa, that was third, now took our position. More like what happened with the Cycling Federation, that we had just one approved cyclist that qualified. But because of another country's cyclist that was supposed to take part was disqualified, and that is how the lots now failed to Nigeria. We had two slots. Now, having 2 slots means that Nigeria had already prepared for just 1 slot.
True.
Then we don't have any other slot until 2 weeks before the competition. That is why when International Cycling Federation had to give us that slot. Now, the big question is 2 weeks not good enough for us to make an order of bicycle?
I learned that the bicycle is
and the 36 million. Now, the bicycle, the amount is not the issue here, but the inability of Nigerian Cycling Federation to acquire one for our, cyclists. That is the problem. Now, according to them, according to the Nigerian cyclists, that it takes more than a month to deliver that bicycle if you make an order. But for investigation, that is a complete lie. It takes you less than a week, you get delivery of that. So if you had 2 weeks notification that one cyclist has been added to you, can't we take 1 week at most to order for another bike? If truly we wanted to. No, we did not. Other than the sport minister coming up to debunk that rumor that that happened, that we had to go to and liaise with the German team because one of the cyclists that are representing us, they had to liaise with their team out there, his club side, so that they give us. So all those cook-up stories, these are some of the maladministration that we are talking about.
All right, we're still looking at trends, after the post-mortem of the Paris Olympic Games. And Mike, before we leave that, entirely, and then focus on what is to come, the Paralympic team, that's more reason why we are looking at, because we are going to be faced with the Paralympics very soon, and the NOC are still going to be in charge. So, but the good thing is that they have released 24 athletes to fly Nigerian flag. I'm wondering why this was not done earlier. Why this is coming now. We've not heard about the Paralympics. Another person will tell you that this is the first time they did not see more. There was a time I told you that this is the first time we have not seen more of the activities of the Paralympians going into a tournament. What is the hope of our athletes doing so well, our para-athletes doing so well in 4 different sports as compared to others? They have 24 athletes participating in 4 different athletes, 4 different sports. Can we surpass our previous achievements?
First, just maybe, the preparation and the hostility of the Paris Olympic Games have overshadowed the other preparation of the Paralympic team. That may just be the case. That is why we've not heard much about their preparation. But then, the big question now is, should we be hopeful about the Paralympians? Of course, yes. We should be hopeful that they are going to, wipe some shame away from their able-bodied counterpart who failed to, live up to the expectation. Because going through the history of the Paralympians, since they started competing in the Paralympic game, I think, they will hold their head very high. In all, they've won for the country a total of 80 medals. That includes 40 gold, 21 silver, 19 bronze. Very fast contrast to what we saw their able-body counterpart achieved over the years, which you talk about 27 medals in all, talking about their able-body counterpart. Whereas the Paralympian have amassed a total of 80 medals, and we have 27 for their able. So looking at that fact and projection, it is very clear, and I'm very hopeful that the Paralympians, they are going to go out, especially coming at the back heels of disastrous outing from the able-bodied counterpart. They want to also make a mark for themselves, so that at least they put themselves on the limelight. Because when you talk about reward system, it's another thing that we need to talk about some other day. Because take a look at the achievement of the Paralympians vis-a-vis that of their able-bodied counterparts. The difference is very clear in terms of reward system. Nobody honors them, nobody remembers them. We don't even get to talk much about them, even preparation during and after games. But then when you talk about the able-bodied counterpart in any Olympic year, you hear a whole lot of noise, especially 6 months, 3 months before the competition. But then they go out there to disappoint us. So for me, I think we should be hopeful that indeed they are going to go out there and compete favorably well with others out there. But after doing the nation proud, what would be their benefit?
All right, let's go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll head straight to what transpired, who won the Olympics and the medals table, and then we'll talk some football matters on Sports Extraordinary this evening. All right, welcome back from that short break. If you're just joining us, it is still Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television Network, and I still have Mike here in the studios. We've been previewing the effort of Team Nigeria and, of course, what next. I mean, it's time to move away a little from the camp of Nigeria. And yesterday, I was looking at who was the closing ceremony of the games, who was holding the flag of Nigeria at that time. Was it still to be a motion?
Yeah.
because you know, in the closing ceremony when all the teams came out, people with their medal, I was not asking myself, I mean, what's the feeling like? You see your colleague with medals, you know, some with 4, some with 3, and you're asking yourself, because not all of them at that point, some did not hold. It was only those who were medal winners. For example, in the US team, it was only medal winners that were holding flag. So if you're not a medal winner, you cannot hold the flag. It's no longer the status quo as compared to the first one during the opening ceremony. I was not asking myself, I say, who are we holding our own medal now? Our own flag.
You can't be hoisting flag when you did not win anything.
No, because so, you know, all the flag that they came out at the 200 and something countries, all of them came out with a flag, you know, the closing ceremony. And then the closing ceremony we saw Tom Cruise. You know, remember Tom Cruise of the Mission Impossible? You know, how he came in and electrified the atmosphere. But he stole the show and that level. And your general take on what transpired at the closing ceremony, Mike?
Well, I think for me, it's about unity, which they actually preached, which was actually the theme song for this year's Olympic game. Try to unite the world using sport and the Olympic, to be precise, because it's a rallying call, especially at this time where so many nations is going against each other in terms of insurrection and terrorist attacks, you know, here and there. But I think the closing ceremony also told that line when, you know, some of the major stakeholders gave their closing remarks and opinion, also preaching the same message. So for me, you know, away from that, we saw some flashy moments where we saw some great entertainers coming in from the music industry. We saw the likes of Snoop Dogg as well, who also was there as well. Saw some great actors as well, and some stakeholders in terms of sport out there in France who have paid their dues over the years and across the globe as well, you know, also being part and parcel of the, you know, rituals, one of the rituals, which is the opening, the closing ceremony. So for me, I think it was a massive one that would definitely stand the test of time. Of course, you know that Paris is holding very significant roles in terms of the Olympic game. Don't forget, this is where the first, you know, IOC meeting took place in the history of, you know, the IOC. So for me, it was colorful and glamorous.
And at the end of the day, with all the hype and everything, the US, you know, I mean, claimed back their defended their title. They won 3 years ago, winning 40 gold, you know, in that particular one, and getting about 120-something medals in total, which was very fantastic, but less compared to the one they won the last time.
Yes, of course, they still hold sway in terms of dominance in the Olympic game. But then, it was a close fight between them and China this time around. As China refused to back down, you know, they had to hunt United States of America. It was more like a back and forth right from the first day of the competition between China and United States of America, toppling each other, upstaging each other, you know. Then I think China, they missed out with just a slim margin because their hope was rested on France, who they hoped should have beaten the United States women in the last fight, because then China was still having 40 gold, while US had 39 gold, you know, heading into that game against France in the women basketball team. And of course, you saw how keenly contested that game. At some point, it looked as though the France team was running away with victory, but then, you know, US, this is their area of their specialties, so they had to come back from, you know, behind to do the magic, and that gave them the, you know, chance to topple, you know, China. Though 40 gold medal apiece, but then the silver and bronze had to separate each other. But then we want to give big kudos to China. They fought a gallant fight.
And of course, you look at the other. I mean, Japan also came from the back door. Yeah. Nobody would have believed that.
Yeah, it's a clear disposition of what the Asian countries is doing.
True.
You know, not just China, but their own brothers as well, also fighting from all fronts to put the continent of Asia on the map, which is what I expected Africa to be doing. But then I think we still have a long way to go, you know, talking about Africa.
The NFF, they're planning to announce a new coach this week, Mike.
Well, that it's a big issue. Let me not just reveal the cankerworm. Let me not.
Maybe we'll save that for another day.
Yes, we'll save that for another day. But NFF and their issue, a whole lot of issue in the glass house. They are looking to, you know, be on a wall of their own. They've actually detached and alienated themselves from the people, from the fans of the Super Eagles. Having seen that it's been weeks and weeks upon weeks that Finidi George threw in the towel, yet we don't have a substantive coach, and we'll have few weeks before the next African Cup of Nations qualifier, and that is how bad it is.
They too should be bothered about the under-23.
Through, there should be, but then, like I said, you know, there's a whole lot of issues that we don't want to pull off the carpet right now. We just let it lie. We will wait to see their next line of action come next week, where they have mooted to say that they are going to unveil a new substantive coach for the Super Eagles.
Mike, lastly, before we wrap up to that conversation, I mean, you saw the glorious community sheds that more like a cutting razor to the start of the league this weekend. And I look at that game. Does it give you the perception, or does it align your thoughts to what to expect to be expected this coming season?
No, not at all. I think I have a different opinion, because taking a look at history, in the last 4 years, any team that gets to win the cutting race at the Community Shield doesn't end up winning the league. It's a big record, and I don't know whether that is going to speak in favor or against Manchester City this time around. But then, some of the highlights rather, is that Manchester United were profligate in front of goals. Chances came their way, but they failed to bury it. Then again, another highlight is that Manchester United seems not to have corrected their last season, you know, problem of not being able to kill off games at the nick of time. See that you are having 7 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or even a minute to go, and they are up by a lone goal or 2 goals. They don't hold on to it. They concede late goals. That is one of their big problems last season. Against Chelsea, against Fulham, I can mention, go on and on. So that is another major highlight and major concern for Erik ten Hag. If he did not want to hang in 8th position just the way he hanged last season, then there is need for urgency in order to be able to find the mathematical arrangement how he can be able to use to finish off games, especially at that minute.
And that's manager Mikel Arteta has hailed Ricardo Cagliari, who of course made his debut yesterday. He was signed to the Gunners in a summer move, £42 million. They signed him from Bologna, and that seems to be one that is really sparking the air I mean, Ateta believes that this man can just be the game changer for him. But I don't think Arsenal have a challenge of the defense. I mean, we're going to talk about that subsequently, but I, for one, do not think Arsenal have defensive challenges.
Yeah, I think they don't have a team that played
the rates last season.
Look at their rate last season. Played 36 games, considered just 6 goals. I mean 16 goals rather. They were one of the lowest team last season that considered the lowest amount of goals. They have a very tight defense and they score goals even last season very well. Without a recognized striker, they were still able to at least do the needful by scoring the goals. But I don't think that defense is their problem. They need a front man. They need a hit man. They need that.
Well, it seems like Ateta is not even bothered about that.
Let's hope the transfer window is still very much open. It ends maybe 30th or 20th of this month. Let's hope that before then you can be able to wrap up 1 or 2 business. But there are other transfers, before we, bounce out of the building that is coming up. It's very hot. Matthew Delight, he's at Manchester United right now to complete his medicals, for Manchester, from Bayern to Manchester United. Then again for, Atletico Madrid as well, between them and Chelsea, the deal for Omorodion have collapsed for Chelsea. So they are now trying to find an option, because if the deal collapses, what it simply means that it will be very difficult for Calaga to head down to Atletico Madrid, who is already there already. And of course, Omorodion already came to Stamford Bridge to carry out his medical test. But then the deal has collapsed, and we hear that Chelsea is opening up talks and other option, trying to use João Felix of the same Atletico Madrid to strike the deal as well. So for me, that is the latest coming in from the transfer. That is latest right now.
And of course, the signing of the Taka for the Tottenham Hotspur. We saw Solanke, Dominic Solanke is now playing no longer with Bournemouth but with Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, of course, deserving. He did pretty well for Bournemouth last season, and Tottenham need this kind of striker, agile, very quick, very flair, good on his feet out there, has a dazzling moment to go past defenders and make things happen in front of goal. Better to compare with the likes of Richardson, the Brazilian, who has not fired. He has not hit the ground running for Tottenham.
Mike, this is how far we can go, but our sports thriller goes to the United States of America for holding strongly and leading the three. Where we have 200 plus countries coming together in unity in sports, charads. And of course, them holding strongly that mantle of leadership. It shows that the U.S. government will be very happy, especially at the time of their political history, when the election will be coming out soon.
Definitely, truly deserving for them, and they continue to make their mark out there. Consistency is the word for United States of America. 5 to 8 good times they continue to dominate. Very impressive one for them.
Many thanks. I will be back again tomorrow, same time, for more conversation here on Sports Extraordinary. My name is Ekpo Temple. Mike and I did the show together this evening. Tomorrow morning, join us for more interesting moments on Sports Talk. Many thanks to the guys who are behind the scene putting up this. So you can go to our social media platform at Atlantic Television Network for more conversation. Until then, have a pleasant evening.